Introducing Nick Randall with FreightCar America.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nick Randall. I'm the CEO of FreightCar America. With me is Mike Riordan, who is our CFO for FreightCar America. A couple of disclosures. I'm not going to read them. Well, there we go. As a public traded company. So, company overview. FreightCar America, we are a manufacturer of rail cars. We have a long, rich history. We're about 130 years old, started in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And what I'm here to talk about today is our transformation that's really taken place over the last 5 years. So really the history and then what we've achieved in the last 5 years. So I'm going to start with some of the results from last year, full year. So 360 or almost $360 million of revenue across North America. That was just over 3,000 units produced and shipped for the year. And we generated 11.7% gross margin, which compared with the publicly traded competitors is the highest manufacturing gross margin amongst the group. That led us to generate just over 6,658 adjusted EBITDA per car, which is up 152% year on year from our prior year. And we've got 175,000 rail cars in service, so we have a significant credibility. And our facility in Mexico has the capacity to build 5,000 units based on the 3,000 units we shipped last year. So how do we do that, or how do we get there? So for the first 100 years of our existence, we were a coal car manufacturer. As the coal industry grew in North America, we were number one. We were about 8% market share, and we produced pretty much the majority of coal cars through the U.S. As the coal industry diminished, so did the coal car demand, and we set about changing our product portfolio, and we introduced a whole range of products that we made and manufactured across 3 facilities in the U.S. Fast forward to about 2015, when we quickly realized that manufacturing in the U.S. at those rates and at those cost base was unsustainable, and we transformed our business from 2020 through to today with a new campus and transferred our business over to Mexico, state of Coahuila, a location called Castaños, Mexico. So far, we generated about 5,000 units, or hit our 5,000th unit during the year of 2023. We will hit our 10,000th unit built in Castaños, Mexico in 2024. And I'm going to talk through some of the value creation pillars that we've now created with our transformation over to Mexico. So a couple of members of the team. You have myself, Nick Randall, as CEO, Mike Riordan, our CFO. Matt Ton is our Chief Commercial Officer, and Celia Perez. Between us, we have over 80 years of industrial manufacturing experience, a lot focused in the rail car, automotive, and aerospace industries. So I think we have a credible team to lead us onto our next step. To compare and contrast what we did over the last 4 or 5 years and what that did from a value creation perspective, 2019 was our last full trading year with our facilities in the U.S. This is why I've used 2019 as a compare and contrast. 2 manufacturing locations down to a single manufacturing location, and allows us to do a lot of vertical integration over in Mexico. 10,000 rail car capacity down to 5,000 rail car capacity. The industry consumes about 40,000 rail cars a year. So we have a capacity now for just over 12 to 15% of the market. 2019 produced 2,276 units. Compare that to last year, just over 3,000. I guess the most important part is in 2019, we made a loss of just over $18,000 per unit shipped. And now in 2023, made an adjusted EBIT of just over $6,600 per unit shipped, a turnaround of about $24,000 per unit shipped. So what do we think is our next steps for sort of profitable growth? So we have cost optimization with our vertical integration in our facilities on our left-hand side, a number of items we can do. One thing of note is that in order to maintain throughput and in order to maintain the best return on our costs is we have to be able to produce smaller batch quantities than just most of our competitors. Our competitors use about 1,000 units at once. We can be profitable building down at 100 units at once. We do that through a lot of changeover optimization and being able to combine tooling and hardware that allows us to utilize those across different products. From a commercial strategy, we have a route to market which is different. We do not have a leasing fleet. Both of our competitors have large leasing fleets, and they compete with their own customers as lessors. We don't do that, which a lot of our particular customers appreciate that we're not competing for them as business. We are working them as a supplier and be able to provide them with great products. So let me just talk through each of those in a bit more detail. So this is our facility in Castaños, Mexico, completed late last year. So finished the final completion around about October, November of last year. Just under 700,000 square feet under roof, 2,000 employees based in this facility here in Mexico. We have 4 production lines currently in use with a 5th one, which is outfitted. We just don't use it and haven't turned on the capacity yet. And we have the current capacity of about 5,000 units a year. Last year, we shipped 3,000. And as I say, we have the option to turn on a 5th line, which would add another 20% capacity into our facility. The facility is also vertically integrated. We have a lot of our fabrication. So we'll take in steel plate, steel coil, and we'll convert every operation associated with manufacturing and build and assembly of freight cars. We have closer control of the supply chain. A lot of our products made in the campus and moved around the campus. We have a strong supply base in the local area. So we're just in the northeast of Mexico, about 2 hours drive south from the Texas border on the main train lines. We have access to a large pool of skilled labor. We're based in the city of Castaños and Monclova, which is about a 2-hour, 30-minute drive north of Monterrey, just to give you an idea of where we sit. So we're a pure play from a route to market. We're a pure play manufacturer on the left-hand side. Our main customers are either mid-market leasing companies or they are banks who are buying assets to lease from a bank perspective. We have a niche manufacturing capability. We've produced over 45 different car types over the last 2 years for 30 different customers. And as I say, those 45 different car types rely heavily on us being able to change over from one car type to another car type. And we own all the engineering and design products, so we can design them both for end user optimization and for manufacturing optimization. And we have a order fulfillment time that ranges from, on the lowest side, about 4 months from placement of order to delivery, up to about 9 months, which is ideal. We can obviously do it longer, but our customers like to have around about 7 to 8 months and an order fulfillment time out of Mexico. Next steps for us is to continue to drive profitable growth. As we've completed our campus, it took us about 2.5 years to complete that and all the processes that go with that to relocate manufacturing to Mexico. We're going to continue using the 2,000 people we've got down there and integrate more and more of the vertical integration. We have a full fab shop, full plasma tables, full cutting facilities. We are going to look to recapitalize our debt structure. There's some details there of kind of what we've been trying to do and how we get that out there. And then we've got future product expansion. So our current industry takes about 40,000 rail cars a unit a year. We have a product portfolio that covers the best part of 75% of that demand. There's 10% that we probably won't produce a product for. It simply doesn't fit for us. And there's 15%, which we do have a product available. It's about market penetration and shipping some of those products with our customers. So that's FreightCar America. That's who we are and what we do and why we're here today. I'm going to hand over to Mike for some of our financial overviews, and then we'll hand over to questions at the end. On this.
So as Nick mentioned, is it working?
You hear that?
As Nick mentioned, the growth trajectory here, year over year, revenues were about flat. As we talked about on our earnings call, that was due to a 2-week shutdown of the U.S.-Mexico border. But despite having flat revenues year over year in Q4, we saw our gross margin expand by 2.5 times, and the adjusted EBITDA by just over 5. Everybody saw.
Yeah, you said one.
As I was saying, gross profit expanded over 2.5 times and adjusted EBITDA over 5 times, despite about flat revenue year over year, which was driven by a 2-week shutdown in the U.S.-Mexico border that led to a buildup of about $25 million of finished goods on property, all shipped out in Q1. And that's important from a cash flow you'll see a little bit later, but very strong year over year growth as we were completing the footprint, building out 60% utilized from a capacity standpoint. Historically, so 2019 through 2023, specifically 2020 to 2023, we saw 42% CAGR on our deliveries, 35% on revenue over that period of time, making sequential improvement in adjusted EBITDA, flipping to profitable in 2022, over 170% growth in 2023, and we expect further growth in 2024. From a cash standpoint, we've exited the turnaround, the restructuring. We've been cash flow positive from operations for 2 consecutive years, expect to be from a third year in 2024. The key piece of what I mentioned on the border closure was even though we were at $4.8 million operating cash flow in 23, that large buildup of inventory was about a $26 million temporary headwind on timing for what would have been operating cash in 23. So substantial growth year over year on operating. Guidance for next year, we are predicting between 4,000 and 4,400 rail cars delivered, about 39% at the midpoint, over 520 to 572 million of revenue, and 32 to 38 million of adjusted EBITDA. So further strong growth as we've built out the facility, have 4 operating lines, and are going to be operating at full capacity as opposed to 60% capacity for the majority of 2023. Investment highlights, as mentioned, 5,000 units of annual railcar capacity. Our 2023 numbers were based on 60% capacity utilization. So strong growth, more absorption of cost, more profit per unit. 6,600 of adjusted EBITDA per car. At the midpoint of our guidance, we expect that to grow to about 8,300 a car on higher unit delivery. Another one is free cash flow generation. So as we said, we've been building a greenfield site for 3 years, spending a lot of money on CapEx. We're in a maintenance mode on CapEx now, which is about 0.5 to 0.75% of revenue, $5 to $7 million for 2024. So we expect to be in a very good position to be free cash flow positive in 2024 and beyond, allowing us to service down the debt that we took out in 2020 to do the turnaround. And this chart's just to explain the cap structure. In 2020, we took out a term loan that had some warrants. It could be a little confusing to people what the share count is to use in your calculations. So we just provided at all the different stock prices what the actual outstanding stock would be. And then just reconciliation tables.
Thanks, Mike. So with that, any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, from the state. Did you explore that? Yeah. And it keep going? Right. I do look at where we are. I think it's a lot. It's not good.
Yes, sir.
Why is your revenue up more than your unit growth? Are you getting pricing or mix or what's going on?
So we have a different mix for sure. We have 4 different production lines. Those production lines, we have different product types. Different product types have different margins with them. So not all freight cars we make are equal. So, but that we try and obviously we don't chase volume per se because there's a lot of low priced work you could win just by lowering the prices. At 10 to 12% market share, we typically go for more niche products, which with them have a higher gross margin when we sell to our customers. So
the coal business is super volatile. Fair portfolio, less volatile, and we have room to kind of go after parts of the industry that are
when you put all the products in our portfolio together, you can sort of smooth out that volatility. At any given product line, there is going to be some volatility on when it's desired, when it's used. So there's some markets like the agricultural market, which are pretty consistent because harvest rates and things are somewhat predictable. Some markets, such as fracking that came and went in different pockets, people will need high demand of aggregate vehicles to support the fracking industry, but then it can drop just as fast as it came. So we have part of the benefit of having that extended product portfolio allows us to smooth the overall demand. But if you looked at any given product, it could have some volatility within it. Yes, sir.
Positive influence, build back better, this rim shoring, reshoring, any of that factored into where you're seeing going forward as manufacturing?
Sure. So there's a couple of things. So relocating a rail car manufacturing company to Mexico had enough challenges with it to begin with. So we focused on that core competency of doing that. The facility we have in Castaños, we are using 100% of 3 of the lines. So effectively have 40% of the area where it's kind of not used. One line not used at all. One line used intermittently for peaks and troughs. We're expanding our fabrication capabilities. So we are exploring either adjacent or anyone who needs steel welded and doing a nearshore operation. So we deliberately hold that space open in Mexico that as people would like to nearshore, we have space and capacity to put that in there. But that's certainly something we do look at and we are looking at to move that up. Yes.
Rail cars, stock, nationwide, whether it be freight or against the old or whatever.
So generally, a rail car is designed to last about 50 years, so pretty long life. Depending on what the product is, they have what's either a rebuild or a reconfiguration or recondition. So depending on how sophisticated they are, there's either a 15-year, 30-year, or 40-year recertification process, which we also do in our facility in Castaños. And then there's obviously, irrecoverable damage that they have if there's a derailment or something happens that damages and you have to replace stock. But generally, it's 50 years. The replacements rates are about consistent or have been consistent at 40,000 units a year since about 2007. And the drivers behind that are really just as items age out, they'll be replenished for a similar or the modern day similar design that comes up. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Consumable products that get sold on an ongoing basis, something that you would sell to the rail,
So we do. It's a relatively small part of our business that we do parts and MRO. We do that out of Pennsylvania, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's an area where we're looking to push and expand. It doesn't go to Castaños in Mexico because we don't want to contaminate with the management oversight of the whole goods business. But in comparison to the overall performance of the business, it's something we're going to push and grow. But at the moment, it's an opportunity rather than a key contributor to our financials. Any other questions? Well, thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Thank you.